Hey, what's up everyone? Screwloose here again with more Nier Automata, and right to it, of course. This is an epic boss battle, like a really awesome boss battle. It's one thing I really love about Platinum Games is they're super good at making these really cool large-scale fights. And this one so far is my favorite. It's only like I think probably the second or maybe third major boss that I fought. But anyways guys, check this one out. It's super cool. I'll try to make some little commentary to go in here. Enjoy. So right away you start in this overhead like 1942 bullet hell shmup mode, and this is of course much better with a controller. I played this the entire time with a keyboard and I died a bunch of times, I think because it's really hard to aim digitally. And, you know, I mean, I just figured with a controller it would be a lot easier to move around with the analog stick and stuff. You can do it with the mouse. It takes a little precision movement and a little practice, but it does work. Certainly not as well as a controller. I'm still gonna have to try it. I prefer mouse and keyboard over controller almost every time. You know, it's weird. At first, I really didn't feel all that good about the shoot 'em up mode like this, because it just didn't make much sense to me for it to be here. But the more I've played it since the first impression video, the more I've enjoyed going into this kind of overhead view of the battlefield. It's just it's a cool way to add multiple modes in one game. Pretty cool stuff, actually. Altogether, I'm really enjoying Nier.
From any friendly units in range. We've come under heavy fire from the enemy. Our escort ship has taken damage and is unable to engage. We're currently resisting with all remaining support fighters, but we can't hold them off for long. I repeat, this is Carrier Blue Ridge 2. We need immediate backup from any available android forces.
Man, how cool is that below there? Look at that carrier and the smoke, and like the water looks good. This game has some of the best looking moving water effects I've seen in a long time. Like probably since, yeah, I'm gonna say probably back when Skyrim was brand new and they actually had like a white water effect on the rivers and stuff. It was really nice. This game does that sort of wow effect as well.
Looks to be 2.8 clicks southwest of us.
Oh yeah, so this thing was pretty cool. Just a fun kind of mini boss in the middle of this big boss fight. Really wasn't that difficult to deal with, but it was a kind of just a fun, like classic arcade-like boss. Really fun. This game's full of that stuff. It's really cool. So I guess that doesn't mean it's without its problems, though. You know, I've noticed that the game runs very well so far. Textures aren't amazing. You know, ambient occlusion doesn't look amazing. Nothing's really amazing about it, but it looks good, and it runs really well. The problem is this weird full screen thing where you can't run natively at 1080p, or excuse me, 1920 by 1080. Resolution without weird blurriness coming through over everything. It just is, it's not right. There are other full screen issues I've heard about. I didn't have these issues, like improper scaling and all that kind of stuff from the beginning of the game, from trying to run it full screen. I didn't really have that issue. And apparently there are some fan patches out there that will help and fix that. I just, you know what, I'm running it 1600 by 900 through this whole thing so far, and I'm really not having a problem with that. To me, it still looks just fine. It's not having any major running issues. I can still run it at 60 frames a second. It still looks nice and sharp. If an actual patch comes out that fixes that resolution problem, then I will be all for it. But otherwise, I really just don't see a reason to make that happen. I don't see a reason to try and go through all the worry of patching things up, because it seems just fine. Anyway, I mean, if it does bother you, of course, change it out, right? It's apparently a very easy thing to do. It takes like 30 seconds, and then you're running them fine. But I don't see a reason to. I'm comfortable with it the way it is. Okay, that's enough on that.
I know, but it's the only way.
EMP generator target confirmed. Marking on map. Proposal: destroy the generator quickly.
So I really like the way that they do these transitions, though. When you're going from isometric to side scroller, they do that so smoothly. You can just watch it happen here, and just look at how ridiculously big this enemy is. I love that. I really love it.
Enemy data obtained from command.
And, you know, and speak to their optimization positively, right? Because look at what's going on the screen. There's all this stuff happening, and my machine is not super top of the line by any means. I mean, I've got an FX 8370 8-core CPU, and I've got 16 gigs of physical memory, and I've got an R9 390X with 8 gigs of video memory. Now that's well above spec for this game, but I very rarely see any frame drops, and even recording here, not having any issues. It's pretty good optimization, I'd say. So yeah, there aren't that many problems with this game. It runs well, it looks good, and you know, the PC port is not perfect by any means, but it's not terrible either. I like the level design. Let's see, I have had issues, in some cases, annoyances with moving around. It's you can't just make the character turn around automatically, which makes it a little difficult to open boxes and that kind of thing. You know, like I'm talking about, like, if your character's facing the wrong direction to open a crate, let's say, and you need to move it in the other direction, you can't just make her flip in the other direction. She can't just do like an about face, I guess is really the way to say it. It doesn't work that way. You have to walk her around a little bit. She has to take a few steps, which is like more real life, I guess. But it also makes it extremely frustrating in some cases to get to something, opening boxes, or positioning yourself for a screenshot, something as silly as that, or even something more serious like trying to talk to an NPC, especially in the desert area, because there are all these dunes all over the place, and sometimes you just slide around on the ground, and that can make things really difficult to sliding past either an object or an NPC you're trying to talk to over and over and over again before you finally make it work. That's pretty frustrating. But really, for the most part, man, I haven't had any issues at all with this game. It hasn't crashed on me at all. I have had occasionally, it happened actually at one point in here, in this video you'll see at some point, I will have a cut, luckily right before a cutscene itself was going to happen, but shift on the keyboard is fire. So if you hit a button in Windows 5 times in a row, it will want to set up sticky keys, and that tabs you out. And what that did is drop me out of full screen and bring up a message, and I cut that from the video, so it looks a little silly. You'll even hear it. You'll hear the bleep that comes up right before that happens, before I cut out that part of the video and remade it. But there are very little options, and that one specifically would be fixed simply by just using a controller. And you know, maybe I'm gonna give that a shot at some point. I really don't want to use a controller. I'm a PC guy and I want to use a keyboard and mouse, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The fact is, this game is good. I recommend this game, and this boss fight really is turning into sort of a video review, which isn't what I intended, but yeah, I mean, oh man, I'm having such a good time with this. Also, if you're running this on PC like myself, and you notice that the cutscenes are playing a little choppy, it turns out that that's because they're recorded at a lower frame rate. There's nothing you can do about that. No amount of amazing system hardware is going to make that happen better. So that's kind of a problem. It's kind of a bummer. But I mean, I guess it's worse for some people than others. I've heard of people, you know, these cutscenes are running at like 3 frames a second, which is just, that's terrible. But I haven't had that issue, luckily. Yay me. Well, I guess I should say I haven't had it happen to that extent. They don't run very well. You can see that clearly from the video. But, I mean, it could be a lot worse. I do wish it was better, but, yeah, whatever.
Are you alright, Tubi? That enormous machine is an ancient weapon. It was designed
Okay, so anyway, back to the boss fight. This thing's so cool. I mentioned it earlier. I love large-scale boss battles, and this one is really awesome. But the thing about it is that I don't really like is that there's very little actually fighting the boss. Most of it is just these little robot guys firing slow ammo at you, and you're having to dodge and basically just shmup mode, which is, it's fun, but it doesn't really feel as epic as Platinum's other giant boss battles. I mentioned previously in my written first impression, my early impression article on the website, that if you haven't played Platinum's Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, definitely play that game. That gives you an idea of how they do big boss battles, and they're fun in this game, but they're not as fun as they are in that game. This is definitely got an epic feel to it in Nier, but man, they're so much cooler in Metal Gear. Now, don't take that as me talking badly about boss battles. Boss battles in this game are super good. That's why I'm putting this video up here, because it's so awesome. It's fun to watch. And in fact, combat itself in general in this game is really fun. It's smooth, and sometimes it feels a little button mashy, but you can do it skillfully, which is a cool thing. And controlling your pod, if you're not playing this game yet, your pod is a little like floating robot, and it will shoot at enemies for you if you tell it to, and it will transfer information for you as a character role. And it will also, it has like special moves. It can drop a shield on your character, or you know, shoot giant lasers at enemies and this and that. Anyway, controlling that guy separately is a really fun way to move around, because you don't have to use him, but it's very helpful too. You know, I think if I had to pick one major problem I have with this game, it's the fact that it has all these fetch quests which are kind of annoying. You know, go to this place and collect me 75 bear asses and bring them back, and you know, that kind of thing is a little bit annoying. Especially because you can't unlock fast travel right away. It takes a little while to unlock fast travel in the game, so moving around is just you're actually running from one large area to another. For the most part, I don't mind that, but it is obnoxious at a certain point. It just needs to stop and go away. Once fast travel is unlocked, though, that becomes a little easier to deal with, and it's not such a big deal. And I mean, on top of all of that, all of those quests are optional. You don't have to do them, so it's not like game breaking or anything, but it's kind of an annoyance. So there are problems in this game, I think, but you know, they're not huge, enormous problems. I guess that is sort of subjective, right? If you're having a worse time than somebody else, then you might say that they're terrible problems. But you know, I mean, Square is a pretty accomplished publisher, and Platinum is a pretty accomplished developer. Smaller, but they're very good at what they do, and I believe that these things will be patched out or fixed over a little bit of time. But anyway, I hope we'll see that. Anyway, my opinion is that this, I mean, the good definitely outweighs the bad, so you know, thumbs up and all that. Anyway, I guess I'll just go ahead and stop for a moment or two here and let you guys watch some of the fight interrupted before the end of the video. I think I leveled up 2 times fighting this thing. It's pretty ridiculous. And there's Grey Wolf and the little steam pop-up. I guess I didn't notice that while I was playing. Vengeance for Grey Wolf! So yeah, it's hard to find any real negatives about this game. The PC port isn't perfect, like I said earlier. It's not the best thing, but it's not worst either. And I mean, I'm having a great time with it. I think a lot of other people are also having a great time with it, and I would recommend this 100%. If you're into like the old JRPG stuff or Final Fantasy like environments, you're gonna really like this. And you know, if you're on the fence about it, wait for it to go on sale. Check out other videos. There's lots of these things on the internet, probably way better than mine. And you know, like I said, I recommend this. And I think I'm running out of time here because my video is running short. So, you guys, thank you very much for watching. I did not intend for this to be a sort of half-assed video review, but that's what it turned out to be. I've been Screwless from TwinstiqLP. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.